And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Morgana Marie, energy coach and psychic medium who was an atheist until she had 3 near-death experiences. Morgana, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Well, we're really happy to have you. And if you don't mind, let's start with your first one and go from there.
Sure. This was many years ago, in my 20s. I'm 37 now. This was in my 20s, and I was in London, and I was in quite a horrendous relationship at the time. And I always wanted out. Part of my soul always wanted out anyway. And it got to a point one night we were arguing, and I remember coming out from the pub. It's called the World's End, by the way, this pub. Funny that. And I come out to the World's End into Camden Station and literally nearly threw myself in front of the train. And all of a sudden, like, everything was flashing so quickly. And I remember people around me screaming, and, I was like screaming. I don't know what happened. And I blanked out. And I remember being in a police car. And I don't know where I went, but I was completely out of it. I completely blanked out. But what I remember, and the only thing that I do remember about that, is being able to see myself in the car, handcuffed in the car. And I was seeing myself, it was like I was seeing myself in the car. And I was transported to a mental health institution, not far from there. How we ended up there, I don't know. And had to get assessed, and literally the rest was history. I don't even know what happened in that short space of time. And I remember them speaking to me and trying to get me to come back, but part of me wasn't there. My physical body was kind of there, but it wasn't. I could hear voices and I could hear people speaking to me, but I couldn't really decipher where I was or what was going on. And then finally was able to come around with enough speaking and talking, and it was almost like, oh, I'm back in my body now. I'm here. Let's do this. And I was looking around and I didn't know where I was, who I was with. It was like a very strange experience that was alien to me. I didn't know where I was, who I was with, but it was a traumatic experience for me.
After this all happened, how did your life change?
Wow, nothing was the same ever again. I remember coming back and I felt like I didn't know where I was, and everything moved so quickly. I remember going to college and studying and driving and just, it was like everything was happening so quickly, but I felt so odd, like I didn't belong. And it was confusing for me. It was like, I'm in this body, but I don't know who I am, where I am. And basically just started to live my life and just follow the process. But it was like from a heightened perspective. It was like I was a different person.
Prior to this, we know that you were an atheist.
Yeah.
Right afterwards, did you become spiritual, or did you have any religious beliefs, or were you still an atheist?
I wouldn't call myself an atheist at that time. I started to wake up, what I call waking up. It was like I had a waking up process. I eliminated that title of atheist because actually that title didn't really belong to me anyway. It's something that I took on from someone else. And yeah, I started to wake up and I started to realize there was more to life. I started to see energies around me. I could sense people's feelings. I was more sensitive. I started seeing like things I couldn't explain and feeling things I couldn't explain. And it was like it was just seeing from a different perspective. I had a different awareness of everything around me.
So during your experience being out of the body, I believe you heard a voice?
Yes, it was like The only way I can describe it is if my higher self speaking to me is, You've got stuff to do. You've got work to do. It, you're here. You got to be here." And it was just confusing because I didn't know what that really meant. What do you mean I've got work to do here? What's this about? So I just kind of go, okay, start speaking to myself like a weirdo. Who does that? Many of us. And yeah, it was like I was okay. I'm here now, but I didn't know what I was here to do. And it was just like this constant search of, okay, well, what am I here to do? And that's where it all started.
You didn't happen to see your higher self while you were there, did you?
It was more of like an energy. The only way I can describe it, it was more of like an energy. It was like an outline of this woman. It's not even woman. It's like an alien. It's like an alien energy. It's like an alien energy that is not even human speaking to me. Is you've got to go back. It's time for you to be here. And the language, it made no sense because it come through in like words and language that I couldn't comprehend or interpret. So it wasn't spoken in English or anything like that.
Interesting. Then how did you comprehend it at all? Was it just kind of like a knowingness, like a download?
It was a download, like an energetic download, like a knowing, like a visual.
Would you say that what you did here was something that people would call light language?
Yeah. Yes. The language of the higher self. Yeah.
If you heard that language today, would you be able to interpret it now?
Yes. Yes. I would just be able to say whatever comes through and whatever way I need to translate that.
Hmm.
Yeah. It feels very, it's interesting that you say that because it feels very close to home.
Hmm. All
It's like I
right.
get it.
Let's fast forward to your second NDE.
Wow, yeah. I mean, there's been so many experiences. I mean, there's this second one. When was the second one? So it was the car crash. So I had a car crash and I was driving along the motorway and I went to the back of a car and then swerved into the left-hand side along the motorway. And the visual for me at the time, it was like I came out of the car and I went into the car, but then I was in the car. I wasn't injured. I just needed to pull over. And it was like multiple realities happening at once. And I was absolutely fine. And I managed to get home and drive home. And I was shaken up a little bit, but I was okay. No one was injured. It was like, so I was being shaken up. It's time. Wake up. Like I got the words, wake up.
So it
Yeah.
was kind of like what some people would say that you were bilocated, perhaps, like you were in your body in the car, but then also outside of your body, outside of the car at the same time, kind of seeing
Yes.
both viewpoints.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Freaky.
Yeah.
Really freaky.
After the second one, what happened to you spiritually, or did you have any even more gifts appear?
Yeah, I did. I actually had this light bulb moment. Go and study reflexology. Go to college and study reflexology. I was really depressed. I had a breakdown. Basically, I had a mental breakdown after that. What I know now was not a mental breakdown. It was a spiritual awakening. It was not a breakdown. It was like an ego death of like, it's time for you to wake up now. So we're going to do this, and you have to have this in the harshest way possible. And yeah, I remember going to college and studying, and that's when I started my college studies. And I went to study as a therapist and Reiki practitioner, reflexologist, did all these therapy courses. And yeah, it almost like I was getting onto my path and I started to feel better and I wasn't depressed anymore and anxiety went.
Do you feel that in this incarnation you were off track in life and you kept having these NDEs, as you say, to wake you up? Or do you think that they were just purely accidents?
They were not accidents. I mean, they were accidents, but they weren't accidents. They were absolutely divinely timed. Yeah.
Hmm. Let's move on to your third one.
So this was another car. I don't have the best luck with cars. But I was driving, I remember driving, again, not in a great relationship at the time. I was driving, I had to get home. I felt like I had to get home. I felt rushed. I was rushing. And I remember putting my foot on the brake. I had no idea why I had to put my foot on the brake, but I put my foot on the brake and hit this blind spot, and my KA car flipped over onto the top of its roof. I was going upside down. All I could see was like tunnels and glass shattering and like loads of lines, like this tunnel, and it was like a kind of vortex like coming at me, and it was like and then I come back, and what I remember was it's time to go back. And then this farmer guy comes running out in the middle of nowhere, pulls me out of the car, and then before I know it, the ambulance is here, and unscathed, no injuries, nothing apart from a big telling off that I need to make sure my car is okay.
Did you communicate with your higher self this time?
No, I didn't that time.
Do you think that you're finally awake now, so you don't have to have any more NDEs?
It's really interesting because, yeah, I do feel like I'm awake. I feel like I'm very aware. I'm in my body. I know where I am, what I'm here to do. But I had another car thing the other week, and it was like, oh, okay, here we go again. You know, what's the message now? And it was just like a cycle of this is we're trying to give you a message here. Are you listening or not? But yes, I feel like I'm awake now, finally. Sometimes I always have to remember to take the veil off my eyes and, really see what's in front of me. But yeah, I'm in a good place now, and I don't want to leave, and I can belong, and I know how to be here on earth. So
That's great. In the beginning, we were talking about your atheist beliefs, and it sounded like that somebody gave you those beliefs.
yeah, so I was in a relationship at the time, and he called himself an atheist. And so therefore I called myself an atheist. I didn't know at the time I was a neurodivergent, and I was a sensitive, and I was an empathic person who likes to absorb other people's problems and pains, and who likes to heal people and help people and absorb people's stuff and mimic them. So I was mimicking this person, and I called myself an atheist. I was like him. I did everything like him, and I ended up being like him. I was privately happy until I met this person. And I remember my mum saying to me, be careful who you hang around with because you end up being like them. And I was like, no, I won't. No, I won't. I'll be fine. And look what happened. So it was quite a wake up call for me to, again, realize be careful the labels you put on yourself because you will become it and you will block your life.
Is that what being neurodivergent is?
Well, there's many traits and quirks and ways in which neurodivergent people can sacrifice themselves. Yeah. Yeah. We want to people please, we want to heal people, we want to take away their pains and their problems and be a people pleaser, and suffer in the sake of their suffering. And yeah, it's a big problem actually. And a lot of the reasons why people are depressed is because of this reason. Yeah.
It sounds like that it's easy for someone like that to end up in a relationship with a narcissist if they're not careful.
Yes. Yes.
And that classic narcissist empath relationship, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Multiple times. I have many of those. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting.
big learnings, big lessons.
Do you believe in pre-birth contracts, and do you believe that you came here to learn that lesson of being neurodivergent?
I did. Yeah. I do believe that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because I've been able to trace back my vows and oaths and commitments and contracts that I made in past lives and connect back to my higher self to understand why I did that and what was I learning from it and the virtues that I've learned from that.
So prior to all this, you didn't have any interest in being psychic or the spiritual or metaphysical or anything, right?
No, I would not have chosen this path for myself, but I did, right? So I was not, I was not, I wouldn't consider myself to be psychic. I would consider myself to be the strange kid at school that was a little bit different, but not psychic or intuitive or have, yeah, different abilities and things. No,
Was it after your second or third NDE where you fully embraced being psychic?
it wasn't after any of them. It was only really more until recently, over the last 5 years, I actually said, okay, it's time. Took me a long time to actually acknowledge it and not be afraid of it.
How does it work for you? Like, do you get visions in your dreams or what?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff actually. I get words, I'll get visuals, I'll get downloads of information about people wherever I go. I will see spirit, I can see spirit around me, I'll get them around me, trying to talk to me. It's just constant. And I've had to learn to embrace it now rather than push it away, because I pushed it away before too many times, and it was only these on these occasions that I actually had to start acknowledging it, because something saved me multiple times.
Would you say that life got easier for you once you embraced it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I stopped fighting against it and actually started to acknowledge it, and it made my life a lot easier.
Does a lot of your abilities happen spontaneously? Like you could be at the grocery store and all of a sudden you know something about the woman in front of you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of annoying at times. I'm just like, oh, not now. I don't need to know this information. Just give me a break. But it just comes, and I have to acknowledge it. Um, yeah. I have what's called office hours now for my gifts.
Well, let's say if you are like at the grocery store and you learn something about the woman in front of you, do you hold
Yeah.
your tongue and not say anything, or do you feel compelled that you have to say something?
I hold my tongue because I don't want to intrude or freak people out, and I also don't want to cross people's boundaries, because that person might not want to hear that. And have had to learn not everyone wants to hear that. So actually, it's a boundary thing for me and for someone else to respect someone else's boundary in that way. Yeah. If if they want to hear it, they'll come to me in another way.
Is it only spontaneous for you, or can you do it at will? For example, if someone says, I have this problem, can you help me? Can you force it?
Oh, it's there all the time. Yeah, yeah. It's not just spontaneous. It's there every day. So the only way that I don't always embrace it, or not embrace it, it's always there, but I have to have, I know how to switch off and have rest time and not have to be in that energy, so I can actually live my life and enjoy my life. Otherwise it's just constant.
Do you fear death?
Not anymore. I've made peace with death now, because I know there's more, and I know that we reincarnate, and I know that there is so much more for our souls to learn on and grow. So I don't fear death. I fear illness. I fear illness, pain, hurt, disease, those things, but I don't fear death anymore, no.
If you had a friend that was grieving over the loss of a loved one, what kind of advice would you give?
Yeah, I would say, if you're open to hearing this, would you consider that they're still around in spirit and they're always wanting to connect with you and contribute to you and have a relationship with you and be here? You just need to be willing to acknowledge and not be afraid of that. And I most people can accept that. So that's what I would do. I would encourage that person to stay open-minded, and it's not the same because they're not here in the physical, but they are always here in the energetic and spiritual realm.
Have you been inspired by your experiences? And if so, how?
Yeah, thank you. I have. It's the only thing that keeps me going every day, I feel, apart from obviously the joy of life. But it's like there's this drive within me that is calling me to share this message that I've been guided to share. And it's fascinating that you say that, because I just realize now that that is my message to share, or one of the many messages to share. And I think a lot of people could find a lot of peace and comfort in that.
And that message is that we go on and we reincarnate.
We do, absolutely. So don't live in regret, in guilt or grief or sadness, or, you have your process, your grieving process, but don't hang around there for your whole life, because you're going to move on anyway, and you're eventually going to have to learn lessons and grow and evolve. And yeah, don't waste your life in misery unless you want to. Don't, because there's so much more to life, and our loved ones would never want us to be stuck in that grief cycle and never move on.
Would you say that your purpose is to help people or to deliver this message, or both?
I feel like both. Yeah, I feel like both. In whatever capacity that is, I have no idea. I'm just surrendering to the spirit and flow of life, and I try and figure it all out. I think I have everything figured out, and then spirit gives me another thing to learn, or another thing to do, and I'm just like, okay, we're doing this now. Okay. So I'm just kind of winging it every day.
I'm kind of like that with this podcast, whereas I've heard about 700 NDEs and I feel like I'm getting closer to understanding the other side. And then a guest will bring a new point of view,
Yeah,
and I'm still learning.
absolutely. Well, I feel like Earth is a school, and we're always learning, we're always evolving, and everyone's got such unique perspectives to bring. And that, as a neurodivergent, and knowing many neurodivergents, we are here to actually spread messages and to share and channel information, to help raise the consciousness of the planet, I feel. So it's a great gift. If we can embrace who we are, then we can make a difference and, yeah, make an impact.
As you know, there's a lot of suffering in this realm. Do you think that's part of the schooling here, is to come and suffer? Or are we needlessly doing that?
We all have choice, and I know that won't resonate with everyone. Some people may hate that I've said that, but we all have choice, and we all make choices, and we make our choices from our contracts and our vows that we make in lives. So we always have the choice to choose something else. I had the choice to choose suffering, and I did for many, many years, until I chose not to do that anymore. So that's coming from my place of experience. So yeah, I don't think we need to see doing it. I just we need to be educated that you do actually have a choice, and you can actually change your life if you really want to, or not. You don't have to.
Yeah. But you don't have to choose suffering if you don't want to.
No, you don't. You really do not. You don't. You obviously, if you're choosing suffering, you're getting something out of it, and that's what I learned. I was getting something out of it, and until I learned that, oh, okay, I'm not actually, don't have to do it that way. I can evolve with kindness. I can evolve with ease. I can evolve with compassion, without fighting, without sacrificing, without hurting, without being hurt. Then, yeah, I was able to see a different possibility in a different way.
You learned from your relationship that you are an atheist, or at least you took on that belief. So are you saying now that there is a creator?
Yeah, I believe in divine, and it includes everything and judges nothing. So it includes atheism, it includes Buddhism, it includes Catholicism, it includes all of it. And I don't judge any of it. I embrace it all. We're all of it, right? So I try to live from this place of, there is no right or wrong, good or bad. It's just everything that is. And I consciously choose every day to create greater for my life. I'm not perfect, but I choose to create greater from that awareness. And you don't have to define who you are or what you are through your labels or what you've decided that you are. It's so much. You're so much more than this human body as well. We are this expansive being that is here to contribute on the planet and make a difference, make an impact. And yeah, a lot of us feel very alien in this world as well. That's what I did. You don't have to feel alien. We can feel alien because we are often aliens. That's why.
What do you mean that literally? Like we are all ETs prior to this incarnation?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Would you
Yeah.
consider yourself to be a starseed?
Yes, I would.
Where did you come from prior to coming to Earth?
Lemuria.
Lemuria. Would you define God as all of us collectively or everything, including us?
Yeah, everything, including us. Yeah,
I like the way you put it that it includes everything and judges nothing.
yeah, absolutely. Because we live in such a world of conflict and war and sadness. It's just going on and on and on and on. And else, if we can all learn, like if we're all learning to not do that, but it still keeps happening. So if we can actually learn what we're here to do is to come together and be not separated, not in conflict with each other, then we can make the world a better place. Be humanitarian, but not everyone wants to choose that.
I've had a significant number of near death experiencers start having some sort of alien contact or seeing UFOs after their experience. Has that happened to you?
I haven't seen UFOs, but I've had moments where I've gone back in time or I've gone back to a memory where I was in a spaceship. And I remember being plugged in and I was being tested on like a guinea pig. And I was like having tests and there was like things plugged into my head and coming out of my body. And then they unplugged me and then I was back. So that was a bit strange. And I've had a few of those moments.
These were memories after your NDE?
These memories, yeah, these were more recent actually. I think I was ready to see it. It was like I was ready to see what had gone on.
Did they happen during your dreams or just like in the middle of the day and you were daydreaming or something?
This happened in a energy coach session because I do swaps with my friends as well. And there was I was trying to work on something. I think that was it. I was wanting to speak. I was trying to do my public speaking, but I was blocked. I was thinking, why am I blocked? Why can't I? And when we tapped into past lives, this memory came up and I saw it so vividly. I was there, I could feel it, I felt it was like I was plugged in and I could see it. I could see it. I could see the inside of this ship. I could see all the details. And I had to learn. There was some learning in it for me able to let that memory go. But it was in my subconscious. Yeah.
What did the ship look like on the inside?
So it was all like purples and pink lights, and then there was this like indented metal imprinting, like weird metal, shiny metals, and then these tubes, like these metal tubes that were like plugged into this, almost like an operating table. It looked like that's what I could remember.
Well, what do you think they were doing to you and how does that relate to public speaking?
Oh, this is crazy, right? Um, I remember now that it was to do with feeling held back because I felt like I was too powerful and it's almost like my power was taken away. And I didn't feel like I was powerful enough to speak in front of people because I was afraid of dying or afraid of something. I had a fear of death come up. And this was what came up because me speaking in front of people was bringing up this energy and this feeling of death and being abducted or like taken down or taken away or like taken out, and that's what came up.
Do you think potentially during that period of that existence, you were a prisoner and they were draining you of your power?
Yeah,
Do you think the fact that you let it go or just re experiencing it helped you somehow release it in this lifetime?
yeah, absolutely that. Yeah, it was that. Yeah,
Hmm.
it enabled me to be able to see what I was learning, what my soul was learning from that, and then learn the virtue from that, and which was all about speaking my voice and not being afraid to speak about this stuff.
Wow.
It's so weird
I
and
wonder if
wonderful.
I wonder if in that existence you were someone like, someone who was really outspoken, and who they considered to be a troublemaker, and that's what they had to do to you.
Yes, you're right.
It's fascinating.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you believe that the Earth will go through some sort of ascension?
We are going through one right now, and we're having major energy upgrades right now to come to higher states of consciousness. We're having to really let go of our ego constructs and our points of views that in the past and our traumas, and so we can rise and we can ascend together as in togetherness, not separateness, together, to be together.
Do you think then that once we do, we'll stop having wars and fighting each other?
Yeah, I do.
Do you see a timeline for when this is going to finally complete?
3000 of the year 3000.
Oh,
We've got a
wow.
long,
We
many,
got a
many years
long
to go.
time to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guess we won't
Yeah.
be around, at least not this lifetime.
No, exactly.
Mm.
Just doing my bit every day to try and make a difference, all I can do.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
What's the best way to reach you?
You can find me on my website, which is morganamarie.com. Find me on there.
Now, you also have a YouTube channel. What kind of content are you creating with that?
So it's a bit of a mixture in terms of energy downloads, energy work, but I talk a lot about how to embrace your neurodivergent leadership potential. So you can start stepping into your power and who you are. And I talk a lot about autism and ADHD and how this is actually sometimes our labels can limit us. So let's embrace it, but let's also learn to move beyond the label and actually embrace who we are. There's so much more to life than this. But yeah, I sort of share my own experiences and what I've learned, and it's all around that.
Well, you have a video about downloads to receive more wealth.
I do.
What was that about?
So this was something that was just channeled through me. All the videos I do just come through me. They just get channeled. So this was I know a lot of people get stuck in poverty consciousness and lack mentality, and we can be very conditioned for lack and poverty consciousness. But if we actually decide that we can start choosing wealth, then we can change our points of views around money and wealth and riches, and live from a place of abundance. You can make more of a difference if you have money than no money, right? So this was a download for that.
That's a great way to put it, that if you are abundant, you can help a lot more people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, do you have anything else that you're working on that you want people to know about?
I do have a podcast at the moment. This is not a video one. This is more of a spoken word, and it's all about possibilities, how you can change your programming to possibilities, and how you can change your points of views to possibilities. So it's all about alchemizing everywhere where you feel stuck or limited or hard, like everything's hard work, and you can start shifting the energy in your life so you can start living more abundantly, more free, more liberated. And yeah, it's me and my friend Natalia, and it's all like tools for life, literally tools for life. Everything that I've had to embrace and learn, just passing it through. So it's for anyone that wants to have more ease in their life, more possibilities.
What is it called?
The Possibility Podcast.
Oh, perfect. Can you give us some practical tips to increase our possibilities in life?
Absolutely. Ask a question. So instead of going into conclusions of life, like, oh, I just can't do this because it's so difficult, or change that point of view to a question. What would it take to have this amount of money show up in my life? Instead of going into conclusion of I don't have enough money. What would it take to have this and make this? So ask a question. That's number one. Number two is make a choice. Just make a choice. It doesn't matter what choice you make, just make a choice. Because we get so caught up on not making the choice and trying to be right and perfect that we never make the choice. and we can delay our life, and it can take so much time to get to where we want to be because we just procrastinate in perfectionism. So if we actually start to choose, then you can choose again and choose again, okay, and just keep choosing. So those two things I would really recommend doing, because you just change the narrative of your life and you get the energy moving in your life. So you can keep choosing.
So when you ask yourself the question, like, what would it take for me to be a billionaire?
Yes,
Is just asking the question enough? Or when you start asking yourself these questions, ideas on how to do it start popping up?
they
And
do.
then you
They
have to implement them.
absolutely. You have to implement them. You've got to take the next step, take the next step, take the next step. Your limiting beliefs will come up. So if you feel like you're not good enough, not worthy enough, you've got to clear that. Otherwise, it will just block you from making the choices. But yeah, you start implementing.
Mm.
And it's like following the energy of your life. That's how you create your life. So it's powerful. That's what I've been doing over the last 14 years. And yeah, it's going a lot better than it was
Well,
previously.
can you share with us some of your successes?
Well, so I'm an international global speaker. I do speaking work now, which is amazing. I haven't
Great.
been doing that ever before. I never thought that was a possibility. So that's a big step for me because I chose it and I didn't get caught up in imperfectionism of what ifs and all of this. I just did it. So that's amazing. I now have my business, which is global and it's all over the world. Whereas before I even chose to do this over the world, it was just focused in one area in sunny Bristol in the UK, and it was limited, but the business was limited. It couldn't scale. It couldn't go anywhere else. That was that. I've changed the relationship with my body. I used to have really bad issues with my digestion, my body dysmorphia, so many different things. And now I would say I have much more of a loving relationship with myself, my body, more than ever. And I use my body to create my life. I ask my body questions every day. And it's a possibility that I've never tapped into before because I didn't know how to. So those are just a few successes that I want to share.
That's great. Morgana, before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Sure. It really comes down to trusting divine timing, and just know that everything is happening in the right divine timing. And things will pop up when you least expect it. So it really is about having that faith and trust that everything's working out in the highest and best way. And that's what I would say.
Morgana, thank you for your message and thank you for being my guest.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.